Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
Welcome to the Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Today, our guest is Joseph. Joseph, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. So, Joseph, can you guide us where you live and what you do?
Sure. Yeah. I'm based in Miami, Florida. For the last 2-3 years, we've been based in Fort Lauderdale, Dallas, and our team also has a presence in Charleston, South Carolina as well. But yeah, JoNo Advertising, we started in 2018 to really disrupt the digital advertising space and be kind of the anti-agency, the non-traditional approach to providing world-class services for brands of all sizes. So we focus on digital media buying, anything in the digital space, so Facebook ads, TikTok, Google, digital television, even podcasts. We are a Meta preferred partner. And then with our business model, we then bring in other world-class talent, small boutique partners to satisfy client demands in things like creative services, web development, public relations. We even have executive coaching and product development partners as well. And so, yeah, we've been around since 2018. Partner and I, we've combined to purchase over 550 million in digital media directly ourselves. And we've generated about 1.5 billion in revenue for our previous brands that we worked at and our clients since 2018.
Well, that's awesome. All right. So,
Thank you.
how you started this company and what was the biggest why? Like why you started this company? What was the biggest inspiration behind?
Sure. Yeah. I tell everyone, I honestly never woke up and wanted to own an ad agency. I worked in advertising on the agency side very early in my career, and it was tough. I didn't think it was for me. And so I spent about 15 years working at big brands like Lexus and General Motors, StubHub, Beachbody, and a few others. And it turned out my father's health wasn't very good. I was living on the West Coast. My family's on the East Coast. And I returned to the East Coast to help out my family going through that. And I wasn't working. I was just going to take about a year off. And people approached me and said, hey, why don't you do for us what you were doing when you worked at big brands? And I honestly said no for about 6 months. I said, there's no way I don't want to do it. And I had some really good mentors, and we sat down and I said, how do we do this in a way that is competitive with the best agencies that we worked with? But then why would someone want to work with us? And that's really where we came up with the business model we have today, which is, very simply exclusive, like world-class talent. So we have no junior staff and media buying. We have a very direct to client engagement, kind of an embedded model, as it used to be called, and then really fair pricing. So we just kind of eliminated what we believed was the nonsense in the space for when we were on the brand side, And but that's how it started. I never woke up and wanted to do this, but now I wake up every day. Now I wake up every day and want to do it. So yeah, it's been about 7 years, but that's how it started. It initially wasn't a dream, but I tell people I found my dream along the way.
This is beautiful. Awesome. So you are disrupting the market. So you are a disruptive innovator. So what is your disruption, innovation? What are your differentiators? How you are setting apart yourself from the market?
Sure, yeah. The first key way is around talent, right? Talent leads to performance. So in our space, it's very much, what have you done for us lately, right? It's very, very black and white. It's dollars in, how much is the investment? And then the dollars out, what is the return on that investment? And so we believe, like there's a saying, there's no substitute for talent. And so that is a core differentiator. The traditional agency model has senior level individuals in maybe analysis and account management and business development. But then at the tactical level and even the strategic level with the media on a day-to-day basis is very junior staff, right? So agencies will say like they're learning the business, but they're learning the business at the expense of clients, right? And so we have a more experienced team that are very knowledgeable. We have great relationships with the ad networks to stay at the forefront of the ad platform changes. So really the first big differentiator is that talent level and experience with, we have over 35 years experience just on the brand side and then another 15 years combined doing what we're doing now, agency side. So And as I mentioned, like we are like owner operators, right? So we're doing the work. We don't farm it to interns, onshore, offshore. There's nothing like that. So we are the ones that are executing on a daily basis. The other two big ways we differentiate, I think, is the way we engage with the clients. It is as if the client is purchasing an internal team. So it's not a traditional agency where we only meet once a week, or we have, 2-day SLAs on Slack responses, things like that, or we don't invoice clients if they want to have a meeting with myself or my partner, on a Saturday. We don't send a bill for $400 like some agencies do, right? So we have this embedded structure where we integrate directly into our client systems, whether it's obvious on the media side, all of our ad buying is done on their systems. And so they own the data. There's no black box. They have full transparency at all times. But then from a communication standpoint, we're real time on Slack, WhatsApp with our international clients, things like that. And last final that gets everyone excited is just the cost. We really believe that our competitors, and still to this day, anywhere from 12 to 16% of media spend is very high. Not only is that a lot to pay for the services being delivered, but it really stresses the bottom line and cuts into margin. So we typically come in anywhere in that 7 to 10% range, which is about 50% better than the competition. And we're able to do that because we don't have the overhead, because we do work in this more integrated fashion. So we can be faster, and that speed leads to a lot of efficiencies and cost savings for the clients.
Makes sense. That's good. Awesome. So, Joseph, you are a disruption innovator. So, I believe most of the disruption innovators are the market leaders, and they do not play any more. Most of the time, they do not play part in the price war. So, but still, somehow every business is connected with the price war somehow at some stage. But yeah, in your case, you have pretty good differentiators where like you are reducing the cost from somewhere else so that you do not have to reduce your own profits. This is one of the biggest thing that every entrepreneur is looking for. Every entrepreneur dream for it.
Right.
So yeah. So this is great.
Yeah.
It means the price war cannot have a lot of impact on you. But still, have you ever faced the price war, or you became a part of the price war somehow? Because sometimes to move from Red Sea to Blue Sea, you have to face it.
Yeah, and it's a great question. Actually, we face it in kind of the would be the best way, not maybe like the opposite direction of what a normal price war, right? So trying to drive the price down. We get questioned, how can you deliver the same services as your competitors at the price that you're offering? Because we already come in at such a low price. So we have to overcome skepticism. There's a pretty big barrier to building that trust with clients. And they have this mental image, or from experience, right, with their clients, of saying, their typical agency partners have very big teams, 2-3 people managing the media, maybe 1 or 2 people on accounts, then 1 or 2 people on analysts. And we actually have a slide in one of our pitch decks that shows what we do with 2 to 3 people is like 7 to 9 people at an agency. And that's not even getting into creative services or landing page development, anything like that, CRM. This is strictly the media buying function. And so we have to overcome years, decades in some cases, of people who are conditioned to thinking that their business function, their livelihood, their business's success is predicated on having essentially like an armada at an agency of people to get the job done. And so when we can educate them and say, listen, we're very transparent, like this is how long it takes to do things. This is how we do it versus other clients, right? We engage with you directly and we can have a change done in 1 hour. But if you want to do the same example, it may take 3 or 4 days elsewhere and involve many more people. So we go through an education process to combat that skepticism around pricing. And then we also explain to them our business model, I think, which is something very interesting for service-based businesses. I think many entrepreneurs want to keep it hidden, kind of this black box of what they do, right? The secret sauce. They don't want to divulge that. We are completely transparent. We say, listen, we've eliminated hierarchy, but that activity and that function still exists. So we still have our weekly meetings. We still do the weekly reports, but instead of engaging with an account person, then 2 days later with a media person, you engage directly with us, right? The media buyer, who also serves as account manager. And majority of analytical work, right? Certainly we can bring in other analysts that are, in quantitative methods, things like that. So by eliminating, I don't want to say eliminating headcount, we never had that headcount to begin with. So by removing some of those layers and being transparent with the client and saying, we are able to offer this cost because we are still hitting our margin goals at this reduced rate, and we still provide all of the same services. I tell everyone, like, we do on-sites, we do workshops, we go for dinners, to conferences. We do all the same things that traditional agencies provide beyond just the media buying services. But since we don't have the large overhead, we've been fully remote since 2018. We're able to offer a better price. But that may be a little bit long-winded, but I think that the takeaways there to your question are like more transparency, education, and I think transparency and this honesty of just explaining to people, this is why we're able to price how we price.
Well, this is awesome. In fact, I got pretty good insights out of it. And many businesses are shutting down every day. Yeah, every day new businesses are coming in the market. But on the other hand, many businesses are just shutting down. They're burning out, and this is one of the biggest problem in the market, in the industry. So this is one of them. This problem is one of them. Like, price war ate many businesses, and it will keep eating the new businesses every day, because this is the model, like, where you are jumping into a well and you don't know how deep it could be. But I got it.
Let me tell you what, it's very deep. It's extremely deep well. It's deeper than you think. If you think it's very deep, it's deep. It's more deep.
Exactly. So can you please share one most interesting challenge that you have ever faced and how you were able to cope up with it? Because again, many businesses just shut down because of continuous challenges as well.
Yeah. I think I could say this. My whole business started with a huge challenge, to be very honest with you. So maybe stepping away, focus more on the entrepreneur side that can relate to any businesses, not just an ad agency. When I very first started, we had small clients, again, because I was removed from corporate world for a while. So people just thought I was they didn't know what I was doing. So when I started my business, it was from zero, and we only had one or two clients, very small, not even enough to pay my rent every month. I was still building a website even. I didn't have a pitch deck yet. So we're talking very in the beginning, in year one. And through networking, a very large, multi-billion-dollar company we got introduced to. And the person was actually familiar with me and my work at brands, and see me speak at conferences. So it was kind of all the stars were aligning. And we were in a biz dev cycle for about 3 months, and we built a great rapport over that time. And it would have been about a $1.5 million profit to my business to sign this client per year, 1.5 million profit. And so imagine at this point I was making $2,000 a month, and everything was going really well. We'd met the team. We met many stakeholders across the organization. So we signed we had the final contract through legal. I signed the contract on Friday. I sent it to Chief Marketing Officer Friday. She calls me from the airport, says, "Hey, I got the document, but I'm flying back to the West Coast. I'll sign it on Monday and send it over." We even had kickoff meetings with 3 teams planned that week. And sure enough, Monday morning, the company terminated the whole bunch of members in the C-suite, including the chief marketing officer. And this company never signed the contract. And so we spent almost over 100 days, courting this client. And I sat there after, 4 months making $2,000 a month. And I just had this whole thing fall through. I had to call people and tell them, we couldn't hire them because we didn't, there was no account. And to be honest, I don't drink much, but I walked across the street, beautiful bar on the Hudson River. And I sat there and I just said, I have to make a decision. I can do this and try it and keep going, and this is going to happen. Yeah. Or I can try to go back to corporate world where I feel very comfortable and is something that I'm used to and can navigate pretty well. And I said to myself, many other entrepreneurs go through this. This is what I've heard on podcasts, right? This is what I've seen at conferences, is these moments, these inflection moments where you have to make a decision, and it's not going to be easy. And so to be honest, that was like the first decision in my whole company. And I decided to keep going. So 20 minutes later, I didn't even drink my drink. I was so fired up just sitting there, and I walked back into my apartment, and that was it. I'm not sure I slept for 2 days. I've finished a pitch deck. I built my own website, on Squarespace just to get something up and running. And so I tell people, it's going to be hard, but you just have to keep going. And from there, it was a great learning experience. We took the learnings from that contract process and applied it to every other contract process we have. So to be honest, it's been an amazing benefit to us to be able to like learn and shrink the sales time, work better with legal at clients, their procurement groups clients. So it was a great learning experience. At the time, it really hurt, but over time, you just have to keep going, until a point of almost like no return. And then obviously then you have to make another decision. But I was at that point, no revenue, tapping into my savings every day. And I decided to keep going. Now it's been great. Now we've been able to travel all around the world. We've worked with mega clients, phenomenal premier startups out of Silicon Valley, Miami, Texas. I mean, it's been great.
Yeah, well, that was an exposure. That was the first step, obviously. First step is always hard. Awesome. All right. So, Joseph,
Yeah, that's true.
can you please give us the biggest piece of advice for our entrepreneurs and the ones who are already thinking to be their own boss?
Yeah, absolutely. I think just building off the example is to kind of just keep going, right? One step at a time. And I think part of that, it sounds easy, okay? And then I think the first part of that is doing it, but what do you actually want to be doing in that process, right? So it sounds easy, just keep going, but you don't necessarily want to go down a bad path because that just accelerates, poor performance or things that you don't want, right? So how do you navigate keeping going and taking the next step one day at a time? I really believe speaking with as many people as possible. That's something without talking to many, many people, different perspectives, different industries, that has been invaluable. That helps building connections, increasing the knowledge base. It helps to verify conversations you have with other people. It helps validate what you're doing, validate your decision-making process. We hear from so many people like they just get everything reading online, and that's great. But you also need to pair that with having the conversations because you can get more context, right? You understand the degrees of the different variables in play. And it has been something that for me, especially in the world of technology, because it's moving so fast, right? It's moving at warp speed. Different industries accelerate in different ways. Fast fashion brands accelerate at one pace and certain sort of things they need to be successful. But then maybe luxury brands accelerate at a different pace. And there's different things in the world of technology and CRM that are mission critical that we can then apply in the world of like fast fashion and e-commerce. So those insights don't occur unless you're out there speaking with people, meeting with other practitioners.
Well, that's a beautiful advice. Awesome. Joseph, please let our viewers know how they can reach you. You can share your website and your social media or whatever you want to share.
Yeah, absolutely. Feel free. Everyone can learn more about us. It's JoNoAdvertising.com, and you can reach out at info@JoNo Advertising, or if you want to connect with me directly, Joe@JoNo Advertising, and that'll come straight to me. And we can share some of our materials. We have a bunch of case studies that we can send over as well. And we're just beginning to launch some new social media, so you'll see a lot more content from us on LinkedIn and Instagram. We're pretty excited about some projects we have coming up here in the next week or two.
Awesome. Well, awesome, brother. Thank you so much for joining us today. I really enjoyed the conversation, and obviously we have the time limitation. So, but otherwise, I learned a lot of things, and our conversation was insightful for sure. Well, stay in touch, and I wish you best of luck. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Same to you. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.